All right, welcome to part three. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to take these UVs that we created with in Maya, and um, we're going to export these UVs. We're going to bring them into Photoshop, and then we're going to make a texture. So we have our TV. It's selected. We go to our UV editor. We go to select everything. Gotta go UV shell. I'm going to deselect this front piece because that's going to be its own UV and its own shader, which is going to have illumination. So anything that you have selected is what is going to be exported in the UV snapshot, which is what we're going to do. And also keep in mind, this is 0, 0, this is 1, 1. All of your textures are going to exist within here. And this is only also, keep in mind, for object modeling. A lot of times if you're making something bigger, you're putting a texture on the side of a building or something like that, this is not going to come into play. So this is a lot of times just how to model an object, or like hard surface modeling. All right, so we have the 0, 0 and 1, 1. We have everything selected except for the front. We're going to go to image, except for the CRT. We're going to UV snapshot. We're going to make sure the image format is PNG. We're going to make the size 2048, 2048. We're going to make the edge color this horrible green color. And so I guess if we did RGB, green is the only one that's up to 1. The other ones are 0. But all you have to do is just click this guy. And with that, then we go to browse. And we're going to find out where we're going to put it. And we go to, I'm going to my OneDrive. And then I'm going to put in here UV TV UV v underscore 1 UVs. So TV UVs underscore 1. I don't put in .png because it won't save that way. You'll get a little error. And then I click save. And then I click apply and close. And that's when it actually saves it. Alright, we'll override it. Then I click this guy, and that's the TV image UV snapshot, and this one is going to be 2. So TV UVs underscore 2. And then I go over here, press save, 2048, PNG, green, apply and close. And then if I close this, you'll see that we have a little message saying that everything was good. All right, so now we go into Photoshop and we load up the files that we had done, which is in OneDrive. We go to TV UVs 1, that's what we just did, and TV UVs 2, nope, TV UVs 2, and that one's 6, there we go. All right, so these are the 2 ones that we've done. So you don't see a whole lot here, but they're there. You can see it just faintly. So a little intro, very quick intro to Photoshop, and you'll pick it up along the way. This is, of course, where we're drawing. This little checkerboard stuff is the transparent texture. Then these are all our tools. This is our foreground color, our background color. We're going to use the clone tool, also known as stamp tool. We'll use the polygonal lasso tool, and you can get that just by holding down the lasso tool and then going down to the polygonal lasso. We're going to learn about how to do layers. and also how to paint textures and photo bash stuff. So you can make a texture all from scratch, but to make a texture all from scratch to make our TV would take a lot of skill. The easiest way, and a lot of times what artists will do is they have reference images and they will patch them together, and then they'll and the patches are the will be hand drawn. So this doesn't have to be a magnificent work of art. We just have to get the concept down, and then the skill of making the texture is something that will come with time. So to start with, we're going to make a new layer, before we do that, let's double click on layer 1 and we'll type in UVs. So that's our UVs, and then we click on this plus sign, and then we have a new layer over it. So we want to move this new layer. I click and hold, I move it underneath, and I'm going to double click on that layer and say background. Then I go over to edit or press Shift F5, and I go to fill and make sure the contents here down here is set to black, and click OK. And now we can see that we have our texture here. And let's go to our second one. We're going to do the same thing. UVs, new layer with this little plus sign, move that underneath, change the name, background, and then fill that, Shift F5 with black, and there is our television. So now that we have a couple layers in there, Photoshop will always save it as a PSD. I'm just say B. All right. So what we want to do is we want to go find our references. These are our references for the image. And these are our references for the image. So what we'll do is we're going to copy these, and we press L for the lasso tool, make sure we're in the polygonal mode, and we just go around here. We don't have to be super fancy about it. Just going to go select the image, and press Control C. That'll copy it. Go to our Photoshop file, and we'll press play. We'll press paste. So what we want is we want the UVs to be on the top, and we want the background black to be at the bottom, and then we want all of our painted texture to be in the middle. So we're going to use free transform, which is Control T. I press that, and I can move this around, and you can see that the UVs are on top. So I want to make this fit in here. I can hold down Alt, and it'll scale it 1:1 ratio, and then I'll move it down. I'm going to move it like that, and that should be good enough right there. And then to finalize that, you can press this this key up here, or you can double click, or you can press Enter on the numeric keypad. So we have one layer there. Then we're going to select the other ones. I'm going to close this because we already have that. Here's our back. And then I'm going to do some polygonal lasso around that. Control C. Go back to our file and press Control V. Now we press Control T, and that's free transform. We make that smaller, and then we click on it and move it. You can zoom in by holding down Alt and do the scroll button, and then you can pan by holding down the space bar and pressing the left mouse button. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There. This is not going to be exact, like I said. This is just to learn the concepts. And the numeric keypad. Notice we also have two layers here with two different sections. We have this one, we have this one. And then let's go here and select the front, and we'll do polygonal lasso tool. Control C, Control V, zoom out. Now, if I want to move this around without going into free transform, I can hold down Control and click on the layer and move it up. So I'm definitely going to want to free transform this. So I press Control T and make it smaller. Now this one we're going to have to also do some manipulation to. Notice we have these dials over here. They're going to fit in there. And you can also use the numeric, you can use the left and right arrows. So here I'm going to scale it not in a 1-to-1 ratio, and I'm going to hold down Control and click on this guy up here and move it up. Move this down just a little bit. All right, and press enter, the check mark. And then I'm going to close this. Should I close that? No, let's not close it. I'm going to make a new file for that. Nope, I'm not actually. I remember. I'm going to go put it over here in the UVs over here. Press Control V. So I just want the screen to be in this. So I press Control T, make this bigger. And I can just barely make out the UV outline there. I want just the television screen to be in that. I can move down the opacity so I can see that a little bit better. And then I'll press left arrows. There we go. When I get it in the right spot, go over here, press enter. There we go. All right. So there's our UVs. And we're going to save that. And we'll go over here. Now we just need the sides. Let's close this. There's our side. Control C, Control V, Control T, pull that in, move it down over here, zoom in, we'll move it down here. Then notice if I move it out here, I get this little arrow, like two arrows over there. This is for rotating. Make it a little bit bigger. Arrows going down. This is a lot easier with Substance Painter, but this is how we did it back in the day. So uphill both ways. It's good to know how to do the basics before you go on to fancier tools. Control V, Control T, make it smaller, bring it over here, make it bigger, rotate a little bit. There. And the underside is just going to be a single color. We could also take this one that we had there, and you might notice what I just did there. I held down Control and I pressed right click, and that showed me what layer this was. So it shows the layers that are currently underneath that. So I can take these and I can duplicate it. I have down Control and Alt, and if I click and hold, I move it down. I've duplicated it. I'm going to press Control T. I'm going to right click on that, and then I'm going to select Rotate 180. And it goes down like that. Press Enter. And then all we need is the dials. So our dials, what do we have here? I already did that one. All right, save it. Save it. Go over here. Let's select our dials. Now, also what's important is you have to make sure that when you select something that you're on the correct layer. If I press Control C here, it'll say could not complete the command because the selected area is empty. So we need to go to this layer. So I hold down Control, press the right arrow key, and it says this could be it. Indeed it is. Control C, Control V, and hold down Control, and then I move it over here. I'm going to zoom in there, and then move this up. I'm going to press M for marquee. That does a square one instead of the lasso. That was Shift in order to add that. And hold down Control. You see a little cut thing over there, and that moves that over here. I'm going to press Control T again, using the arrow keys. So again, this is not trying to be super amazing. All we're trying to do here is just kind of get the idea of how this works, because I don't want to make this a very long video, even though maybe. And then if we want to deselect the selection we have here, Control D will deselect it. All right. So, and then we have this guy, these guys over here. Let's look at what that looks like. So here, if we want to use the brush, you press B for the brush. You then, if you want to sample a color, you hold down Alt and you find a color to sample. Zoom out. Scroll down here. Now I'm going to start painting, and any modifications I'm going to do, I like to do over all of these sampled textures, and so I create a new one, and then I'm just going to take this gray color and I'm going to just paint it behind this. So there's that color. And then I want this base to be this color. So I'm going to hold down Alt and select an orange color. I may choose a little bit of a darker orange. And then I can also change the hardness of the line if I click on this little arrow pointing down, and I move that all the way to the right. And I just clicked on the top to get rid of that little guy over there. So now if I go over here, alright, so my flow is a little bit low. I'm going to change that to 100, and now it should fill the whole thing just like so. Painting outside of lines just a little bit. There we are. And then I'm going to paint this because this is the underside. Alright. We're going to save it. And now I'm going to paint these guys. I'm going to paint it kind of this grayish color. So the brackets will make it larger or smaller. And then I'm just going to paint this silver color over here. Sometimes we just want to make temporary textures. Okay, so here is our temporary texture so far. Press Control S over here. That one's good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to link these into Maya. So we go back to our model. Here's our model, F8. Now we're going to go into our Hypershade, and we're going to make 2 shaders. So hold down right mouse button, go to Create, go to Materials, go down to Lambert, and here's our first one. This is going to be, and then change the name, Lambert. We'll call it TV_text_1. You can't use spaces. And then we're going to click on this little checkerboard, and then this will bring up the Create Render node, and then we go to File, and then that brings over here to the Property Editor. This is the node network. This is our shader. This is the file node. It goes into color. And over here we have image name. So if you click on this guy, you'll get it. If you click on this, you won't get it. But this shows that there is a node connected. So I click on this file node. I click on that. Then I look on the OneDrive for the texture. So our texture is TV UVs 1, I think. Let's find out for sure. So TV UVs 1B. So yes, you can use PSD files in your object, but just while you're making it. And we have that one. And then we're going to create a new one. When you finally export it, you do want to change the texture to be you do want to change it to be like a PNG or a JPEG or a TGA. JPEGs are rarely used in gaming. So we have there Lambert 3. We're going to change the name to TV_text_2. And here you can see that now it's starting to get a little bit messy in there. So if I click over here, creating a new node, you can see now we have 2 textures, 2 shader networks in there. And I'm going to click image name, and I'm going to find the second one. And this is TVUVs_2, I think. Open. There we go. All right. So we have that set. Now the main one here is going to be our TV text 1. So I have that selected. I hold down. I had the TV selected. I hold down the right mouse button on the shader that we created, and then I go up to assign material. So it's not showing up because I need to press 6. And there we have it. Now for the next one, we're just going to select the television screen. And I hold down the right mouse button on this. I go up to assign material to selection. And now we have our television static. So now the interesting thing here is we probably don't have, oh, we do have wireframe unshaded. If I turn that off, we still have the wireframe. However, this is not the wireframe in Maya. This is the wireframe in Photoshop. So the next thing we need to do is to start fixing up this texture to make it look somewhat decent. Right now, it's looking a little bit whack. So it's understandable. This is just a cut and dry, like, meatball surgery in terms of texture mapping. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go to Windows, Settings, Preferences, and Preferences. And then we go down to Files, Projects. Scroll down. Now where you see automatically reload updated image files, make sure there's a check on that. What's great about this is you save that, we go back to Photoshop, we see this, we turn off UVs, we save it, we go back to Maya, it automatically reloads the changed image, and now we no longer have the wireframe. Alright, so let's fix this up in Photoshop and make things look a little bit better. So we're going to want certain things to stay. Like we want this thing to stay, and we want this little thing to stay. But we're going to have to change a few things. We're also going to want to get rid of this lip because it's pretty low poly. So we have to turn the UVs back on because we need to look at that. Spacebar, left mouse button. Alright. So what we also want to do is we want to get rid of this dial that's here because the dial is interrupting with the real dial. So this is where we use a thing called cloning or stamping, which is you press S and you'll get to it. It's right over there. And then what we want to do is we do not want all layers because then we'll start cloning the green UVs. So we want current layer and below. And we want aligned clicked on. And we can also use darn it, I hate it when it happens. Whenever you do a drop down, it always makes that active. So I have to get out of that by pressing another key. So current layer and below. Now if we want to make the brush bigger, we use the bracket keys. So what stamping does, or cloning does, is it samples an area of the texture and then moves it to another spot. So it is the tool of photo bashing. But we need to make a reference area where it's going to pull from. So right over here is where we're going to do where we're going to pull from. So I hold down Alt and then I click once. Then I lift up Alt, and now if I go over here, you can see that it's drawing with like a darker color. And now you can also see where that where it's pulling from because it has the plus sign over there. So I may have to change where it's referencing a few times just to get rid of that. So I'll go over here, change the reference. And what it does is you can see that it's pulling from the area around it. So it's not just like we're painting with a brush. We're actually painting with the texture that's around it. This will take some time to just really get good at. So I'm just going to go around here and keep pulling from different spots. Alright, so that's done, and you're not going to see these guys over here. And then we need to get rid of this part over here because we need more of this black area. So this I'm going to clone in. Sometimes you have to do a lot of cloning. This is what photo bashing is all about. Probably make this a little bigger. Make that smaller. So we're going to miss a nice little ridge that's in there, but like I said, this is low poly. quick and dirty. Just to give you the idea of how this works. So another thing too, if I choose a reference here, and then I go to draw, but then it goes into this other area, you'll notice that it's now drawing that other this little thing here. We don't want that, so I want to make sure that we just keep this black plastic that we're looking for. All right, so there is the start. So let's save that, turn off the UVs, save it, and let's see what it looks like in Maya. All right, so here you can see there's a nice little edge right over there. And this is a good point to show that that a lot of times an edge you can get a really nice edge on something in a texture. If I had just used a texture to delineate this, you might have had a little bit of a fuzziness over there. So if you want a really hard edge, a lot of times a texture seam is really going to help. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Photoshop, turn on UVs, and we're going to get rid of this outside area here. If you made the lip, good on you. The inside of the lip will be black. The outside of the lip will be orange. You don't need a tablet in order to do this. It can help. You don't have to be crazy to work here, but it sure helps. But if you wanted to make this look really super high poly, you'd have to not blow away a lot of this detail. And you probably want to make your own custom texture. All right. All right, let's see how that looks. Save. So now the whole edge lip should be gone. Whoops, let's save it with that on there. And now we can see it's all nice and flat black out there. Then let's go back to Photoshop and let's look at these dials. Turn off the UVs. So the dials, to make things simple, what we want to do is we want to get rid of this middle piece there. So I'm going to use clone. Actually, I'm going to brush because this isn't supposed to be super fancy. And I'm going to choose that color by holding down Alt. I'm just going to fill this in here. choose stamp, and then I'm going to stamp this little bit, stamp that little bit, choose that, stamp that little bit, just like so. Turn on the UVs, and here's our dials. So we want it to be this kind of silver-ish color. Turn off our UVs, save, go back to Maya. All right, so like I said, this is super quick and dirty, just trying to get the idea out there. Don't mean to keep apologizing for it. All right, so now what we need to do is get around the lip over here and just the basic body of it. So make sure you save it. Go back into Photoshop. Let's go over here, turn on our UVs. So let's do the lip around the top. So again, I'm going to use stamp, make it bigger, and then I'm going to choose a bigger stamp. Nope, that's a brush. S for stamp. And then choose another location to stamp from, and then paint up here. Okay, there we go. Let's go down here. Let's do the same thing down here. All right, so let's look at what that looks like in Maya. Turn off UVs, save it. Look at the top. So now we have a nice hard line over there. Looking better. So the other thing too is we're going to have a seam going along here. If you were painting this in Substance, for instance, you wouldn't have much of a problem with that. I'm going to have to fix this all up. And so underneath, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to get rid of, oops. All right, that's weird. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. So I'm going to use the stamp tool, and I'm just going to draw over it. So I have to repeatedly lift up and then stamp again because it gets close to the original. Make the tool smaller. Turn on our UVs. So you'll also notice a little bit of a different color on the side. We want our seams from the bottom color here to match this color. So let's save it. Go back to Maya. So now we have the bottom over there colored. Go back over here. Turn on our UVs. All right. So let's do the top here. So I hold down Control, press the right mouse button for layer 1. And this one I'm going to change the order a little bit. I'm going to move it up so it's over the back, just like that. And then I'm going to erase. I have a strange brush for that. There. And then I'm just going to erase some of that outline. And then I'm going to right click and select this and erase some of this outline. Right click with Control down, press that and erase some of this. This way I can have this nice little thing over there. Then I'm going to use a stamp tool. This is not going to come out perfect, but we're just going to keep doing it. So I'm going to try to align these little guys going down here. So you can see if I move it off to the right, that things become a little bit fuzzy. So if I select here, Alt and click there, then I can keep going down, lift up, click, lift up, click, lift up, click, lift up, and click, and then we'll get down to that, just like that. I'll do the same over here. Lift up, click, lift up, click. No, that's need a little more. There we go. And stamp over here. And do the same around over here. All right, so that's good enough. Turn that off. Oops, wrong one. Turn off UVs. Save. Let's look at it. All right, looks janky, but who cares? All right, so now what we want to do, turn on our UVs, and we want to fix the sides over here. So let's get this color here, or stamp that, and let's go to this top layer here, select that, and then we're just doing some cloning. Notice I got some of the speaker there. Make this smaller so I can get in over here. Now, in order to get this to kind of match up, we can change the opacity. I just pressed 5 and that changed the opacity down to 50. And then we can just kind of make it a little transparent there. Let's turn this off. Looks a little bit better. But we, and it looks a little bit better over there. Whoops. But we still have, that's pretty bright. I'm really not going to care if it looks like that. It would be nice, actually. Let's turn this on. If they did, I mean, obviously we don't want to have a seam. Put the hardness down. There we go. So I'm doing a solid color going over the edge. I'm going to do a solid color also going over here. Alright. And then I'm going to choose a color over here, and I'm going to paint along here. So you have a solid color going along there, and then a solid color going along the bottom there. So when these seams match, then we will have no seam in Photoshop. I mean in Maya. So you can see here, there's no visible seam. You can see this difference in texture, but that's another thing. So let's do the same thing on the top. I'm going to choose the brush this time, and I'm going to make a bigger brush, and I'm just going to paint along that top part. Zoom in, paint along there, paint along here. No, I don't want that. And then we choose a brush color here, and then I paint that seam. Make it smaller over there. Make it bigger here. Keep that same brush color. Save that, come back. Turn off UVs, save it again. Alright, so there we go. Now it's starting to actually look real, except texture's still a little janky. Don't care. Now the only thing we have left is really to fix this edge over here. And to find that, we'll go turn on the UVs. And let's do stamp or clone. Go over here, and then we'll turn our opacity up to 100. Alt, and then just draw straight down here. I'll do the same thing. Oh, that's all right. All right. Turn off UVs and save. Okay, so this is right here the basic idea of how to photo bash a texture together. If we wanted to make this really good, there's some things that we would have to change. We would probably want to take, so we have this vent over here. One thing that we could do is we could go back, find our image, our TV references, take this top piece, open that up. Then we could probably select this whole top. Control C, and we could paste it. Make it smaller. Then we could bring it over here. Then hold down Control and pull it out to those sides. And pull this down over here. This would make it look a little bit better. Then all we'd have to do is underneath do some stamping. And it's not going to draw on top of it because we have that layer above it. Then make sure that we have this top layer selected, and we can erase the edges just a little bit. Go back to Maya. Looks a little bit better. So the only thing we could do over here is come up with a better texture for the side of this of these little guys. So turning on the UVs, we select a color right on the edge. So that's a little darker. Incidentally, if you start drawing and then you hold down Shift, you can do a straight line. So like, click, hold down Shift, and you'll get a nice straight line. Click, hold down Shift, get a straight line. And here, I'm just going to draw around here so that I get a seam that works with the side color. All right, there we go. All right, so we have our texture. Oh, let's also add it right up here. Turn that off, save it. Let's look at Maya. All right, looks a lot better, makes a little bit more sense. Still simple, whatever. Everything's good there. So, with that being said, let's turn on our grid. Let's save it. And now let's prepare it for export. So to prepare it for export, we want to put everything down right down here. So D and hold down V and snap that right to that center point there. Then we're going to hold down X and we're going to grab that and we're going to move it to 0, 0, 0. So now it's right on at 0, 0, 0. Now let's see here. Let's change this to retro underscore TV. Then let's delete, let's actually merge our verts, 0.005, F8, F8 twice, delete our history, go to modify, freeze transformations. It's good there. We save. We save. Okay. Oh yeah. Save changes to that. Yeah, sure. Why not? All right. All right. Everything's in the right spot. There we go. And then we export it. File, export selection. And we want to save it to FBX export. And this is going to be retro underscore TV. Enter. That's done. Now we bring in our Unreal. Oh, wait, no, we don't want to do that yet. And actually, we need to go back and change something. So here, my mistake, I was a little too fast. Now we need to file, save as, or export as, and we're going to change this. I'm going to say make it a JPEG because we don't want to deal with a PNG just yet. So save, and I'm going to call this retro TV text. Make that a little smaller. And then our screen, I'm going to save that. You can also do this if the save as doesn't let you save as a JPEG. Go to export and export as. Change PNG to JPEG. Everything's good. Scale 100. Export. And then we'll find our location here. And our exporting location. Oh, yeah. OneDrive. There we go. And then we go to, this is going to be Retro TV Screen. Save. Okay, so now we have those guys done. So now what we need to do is go into Maya and then change our shaders here. So we have TV Text 1. We click on that and it brings up our property window. We click on this guy and then we can see this here. This is our PSD and this is our main TV texture. So I click on that folder. I locate our new TV texture. So that is Retro TV Text. Open. That's good. Go to this one, which is our TV screen. I click on color. I go to our folder. Go down here. Find Retro TV Screen. Click OK. And everything should look good there. Save that. And let's re-export. Well, that's nice. Let's make sure we have everything all set up there. Yeah, there we go. And then select our object, re-export selection to FBX. Retro TV FBX. Export selection, yes. And now we go into Unreal. And I'm going to use this one. So something that you've already made. If you haven't made one, make sure it's 4.27. And probably the one that you made for your weirdo shape. We'll load that up. Just thinking about it. And there we are. Now we find where our shape is. So I have retro TV dot FBX. So I grab the retro TV dot FBX and I drag it over into the content section. And then we have this. Import all. Now it imports our textures. It imports our shaders. We import the object. Grab the object. Move it in. It's super small. It's all right. Let's scale it up. R. Scale up. You can rotate it so it's facing the sun. And there is our television. So a lot of things would need to change in order to make it, look better. A few things changing in the texture. But overall, the main thing is just getting this from like nothing to making a texture for it and putting it out there into the scene. So that's a lot. Here's our texture. Very simple. Just a texture going into the shader. Oops. And that's it. Take your screenshot, and then when you've done that, save all, and that's it. So I hope this was something that you could follow. If you're having an issue with it, just pause it, go back, watch what I'm doing, see what I'm clicking on. I know I go fast, but because it's a video, you should be able to slow it down and see exactly what I did. So, and again, the texture doesn't need to be fantastic. A lot of you are really new to Photoshop, so I'm understanding of that. All right, thank you for sitting through this and watching, and I'll see you in class.